AI is an absolute game changer. Everybody's talking about ChatGPT, OpenAI, and all those tools out there in the market. You can transcribe audio, you can generate art, you can write copy, you can even change your voice. I mean, it's crazy. You can do so many things. So I'm super excited for this time. It's a gold rush. And as a developer, I believe it's super important to understand the technology and being able to use it to your own advantage. Build new products on top of it. So the best way to learn things is to build a product. Today, I'm going to create a clone of ChatGPT by using OpenAI's API. So let's get started. Welcome to my channel. My name is Chris, and now I'm going to show you how to build that ChatGPT clone. For that, we're going to use my favorite stack, which is React, Next.js, Zod, and tRPC. Let's check out each technology, what it is. Let's get started with the first one, Next.js. Chances are, if you are a React developer, you already know Next.js. It's an amazing full-stack application framework. It provides the React frontend and a Node.js backend tied together. It is super fast, so it's really easy to get started with a full-stack application. The next one is Zod. If you don't know it, it is a library that helps you validate your inputs. And the cool thing about it is that it is TypeScript first, so it means that it's much better to work with it if you are having a TypeScript project. And finally, we have tRPC. So this is really an interesting piece of technology. The problem that tRPC is trying to solve is the following. Let's imagine our Next.js application. We have our front end, we have our back end, and those need to talk to each other, right? So the front end is doing some calls to the back end, fetching data, mutating data, and so on. And you have to create those API endpoints. You need to have some input schema, you have to have some validation going on, you need to take care of requests, of retries, and so on in front end. So it takes some work to get this done. In a Next.js context, not so bad. But whenever you change the structure of your input or output in your API endpoint, you will need to apply those changes as well to your front end. And sometimes, if you don't have the necessary tests, you may forget that. Now, tRPC comes and changes that. It brings an amazing developer experience because it connects those two parts, the front end and back end, via remote procedure calls. So you just define in one place your schema, basically, and you're immediately able to use it not only in back end, but as well in the front end. And everything is backed by TypeScript, which makes it super amazing. So you get all those autocompletes and type safety and all the nice things that you can imagine. Now, to get started with our project, I'm going to create a T3 app. T3 is a really cool tool that helps you get started. It includes already the stack that I'm using, Next.js, TypeScript, tRPC. We'll get on top of it Tailwind for the styling, and it includes also Prisma and Nextdoor, which we'll not cover this time, but it will be something that we might use in a next step of the project. Now let's copy this command here to install the T3 app in our terminal. Let's give it a name, ChatAI Playground, TypeScript, Prisma, Tailwind, tRPC are the things that I'm going to need here. And let's skip a few seconds here while this is installing. And let's open it in our favorite IDE. Here we go. We have our Next.js application here, and we can start it with npm run dev. So, what does it look like if we open it here? There we go. We have the T3 demo content here. And yeah, this is the first thing that we're gonna remove. So before I started recording this, I created a layout, a design in Tailwind in pure HTML for this project. So this is what I'm going to copy in as one of the first things. So we just need to find the right place. So source pages index, and we're gonna replace this content by the following here. So as you can see, just regular HTML with some Tailwind classes. And if I save this, the page reloads and we can see the layout that I built. It is somewhat close to or resembles somehow the ChatGPT client, but I added my own ideas to that. So what you can see is we have here the title, the AI Chat Playground, the header. Then we have a conversation going on between a user and AI with lorem ipsum content. And finally, we have our prompt in the bottom for the content that we're gonna send in later on and hopefully get some useful results. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to dissect this page into smaller pieces, so we'll have components and it will be easier to manage those things. So okay, let's resize this and let's have some components folder here. So in the source folder, I'll just create components, and there, as we have 3 sections, basically I'll just create those files already. So the first thing will be a header tsx, then we'll have a chat content tsx, this will be the middle part, and finally a chat input tsx. Okay, let's copy out the necessary parts. So for the header, this is the relevant part. Let's get this in here, export const header, which is just a very simple component. That's it. So we can already import it here and it should still work. Yep, the page still works. Perfect. Now let's look at the section for the chat content. That is here, and let's go in here. So export const chat content, which well, be this one. Oh yeah, this is we need to have one root fragment, so let's wrap it one more time, and here we go. So now we can place the chat content here as well. Also import it, and we should still see everything working. Nice. And now finally we have the chat input, which will go in here. Export const chat input, and let's close that up and let's bring it back in here. Great. So now we can focus on dissecting it into even smaller parts. What I want to focus on right now is the chat content. So in this chat content, we just have 4 messages here, and what sets them apart is that they have different backgrounds and the avatar is different. So what we need here is some sort of a type first. Let's have a chat item type, which will have an author, which could be a user or the AI. And then let's have content here, which is a string. And then of course we'll need the props here. So type props, which will be chat items, and those are arrays of that given type. Perfect. So what we can do now here is chat items and bring in as well basically the props. This will be enough. So we can access it here and we can start digging into. Before we go ahead, I want to also extract the avatar, because we have a user and an AI avatar. So let's create avatar tsx, export avatar, and this will be of well, you will need to have the author there, which could be user or AI. Also the author itself needs to be here. And yeah, this will return us the following. So if the author is AI, then we would like to return, let's check it from the actual design, would like to use the AI design, which will go here. And if it's not the AI, then we'll just return the user avatar, which is coming from here. So this should be it. So we can use the avatar here. So basically we'll just edit like that. And the author in this case, I think, yeah, the user started was the first thing. And then it was the AI. Let's get rid of that additional 2 items to make it simpler. And yeah, now we want to create a loop to display all those messages that would come from the outside. So as you can see here, we have the avatar, which will be able to distinguish based on the author here. And the rest is pretty much the same, a part of the background. So we have the BG gray 900 and gray 800. The rest is all the same. So what we're going to do here is the following. We'll just loop through the chat items. So we'll have a chat item here, and we'll display here one of those. So it will be 900, 800, so I can delete this. I think we just need to close it one more time. There we go. And of course we'll need the key here, which will be an index coming from the map. And there we go. So obviously this will not work. A couple of things that are missing. In this case, we are not sending any chat items into the component. So let's look at the index. Index will complain because it's missing chat items. So what we can do is we can come up with some demo content here. For that, we'll need to use that type there. So let's have here some chat items, which will be of type chat item coming from here, which is an array. Perfect. We'll have an author, in this case the user, and content would be hello. And then one more message where the author is the AI, content says hi back, and I think that should be good enough. Now we can provide this to our component, and hopefully it will be happy. Well, it doesn't work completely yet because we're missing a couple of things. So let's check on that part. So if we look into this component, yeah, obviously we're always using the same avatar. So in this case, we can now use the chat item author. Now you see that this got replaced, and we also want to have the content here. So this is chat item content. Perfect. Hello and hi. Good. So this should cover that part. Well, the background, not quite yet. So the background is still missing. Well, we'll need to install a library to take care of those classes. It will be CLSX, which is allowing you to handle classes. Let me restart the server. Dynamically handle classes. So import CLCX from CLCX. Perfect. Yeah, what we'll need here is the following. So here we have CX, and the first parameter that we'll take is whatever is identical to both items, and in this case the vertical padding of 4 is the same for both items, so I'll keep it here. And as a secondary parameter, I can now provide those dynamic parts, like I want to have the BG Gray 900 background only if the chat author is the user. Cool, that makes sense. Thanks, Copilot. And then I would like to have the same thing for the other case. So in case it's the AI, I would like to have the background 800. I think it's the same as the background here, so it's quite obsolete, but let's keep it here. It doesn't hurt anybody. So I can remove those parts, and I think I didn't miss anything if I save this. Perfect, it works. So let's add here a bit more content by just duplicating that. And as you can see, even odd row highlighting on the content works already. Cool. I think it's about time to build our backend. So we'll do that using tRPC. Let's open this up and let's look at the example implementation of tRPC for this demo setup. If we go to Servers API routers, we'll find here an example router. So this is how tRPC works. You just create your procedures here, which take inputs, and then you can query or mutate data and send it back. So we'll use this as an example for ourselves and build our own router. I'll call it AI, because this will be the AI router. And what we're going to need here is the following. Export const AI router. So this will be the name, which will use the create tRPC router method. Let's import it here. And yeah, we'll need to have our first procedure here. I'll call it, because we will be generating text, I'll just call it generate text. And this has to be a public procedure, which is also something that is already prepared for you, so you don't have to worry about it. So you could have, for example, a middleware in place that would make sure that nobody can use specific routes without having a jot or a session or whatever, and that you would probably call protected procedure. But in our case, this is just for local setup, so we'll go public here with this. So it takes an input, and in this case, actually quite nice, but we'll call it prompt. And this will take a string as an input here. So what you see here is Zot as a suggestion, and we're missing Zot, so I'll just have to quickly install it. npm Zot. This is the validation library, which makes this whole validation thing super easy. So let's get Zot imported. Perfect. And yeah, let's get back to our router. So generate text will take an input, which will be an object having one property called prompt, and this will be of type string. So we'll require this as an input. So this is already the validation part of this API. And as the next thing, we'll make it a mutation. So this will be definitely an asynchronous function because we'll do some network calls later on. And yeah, we'll have this input with, which we defined already. And yeah, we can now just take that input and get our prompt out of this input. So this should be of type string, and let's return just generated. Oh, perfect. Generated text will be prompt plus, well, let's extend it so we can actually see that it went through the routers. So received this here. Okay. And yeah, let's close our router. So this is our AI router. It has only one procedure right now, and we need to wire it up, of course. So here in this routes.ts, we can add those additional routers, which will be AI router. Let's import it as well. And here we go. So from now on, we'll be able to use the generate text call in our frontend. Okay, let's jump back to our frontend. Where is our index here? And let's try to consume that router. So the whole thing is in APIs. So if you look at it, this is the file where everything is put together. So this is how we're going to use it. So what I need here, as I imported it now, I'll just have, let's call it generated text mutation, because it's a mutation, which will be the API AI. And as you can see, it auto completes for you. So it is connecting your frontend with the backend via tRPC, which is super nice. And it shows me already the generate text here. And I want to use the mutation here. This is how I'll be able to later on invoke this. Now we want to do something with the content. So what we'll need to do next is we'll need to edit somewhere. Let's have here something to keep the state here. So we have here the chat content, or I think we called it chat items before. So the chat items will be set chat items chat perfect. We need to import as well use state. So we have a place where we can store those items. So instead of this here, which we will no longer need now, we'll have the actual chat items that we can fit in here. So what we need to do is we need to use the results that will come out of this request of the mutations. So how it works is on success, we'll have basically data here, and we'll just update the content here, right? So we'll just set the chat items here with basically with whatever was there before, and on top of that we'll just create another content here, which will be the data generated text, and the author will be AI in this case. That's it basically. And well, now we get to the next part where we wire it up with the chat input. Okay, let's check out the chat input here. So first thing that we'll need here is we'll need to start managing the state of our input. So what we have here is we'll have a prompt and set prompt, which will be of type string. Let's import that state here, and let's use this here as a value. Perfect. And well, on change, we'll need to also manage yes, exactly this part. So we'll need to update the prompt whenever we make some changes. So this is the one thing that we want to do. The other thing that we'll need to take care of is as well, whenever we are done with the input and we want to send it, we'll need to somehow send it up to the above component. So let's have here something called a handle update, I would say, which I don't think we need any inputs. Let's see. So first of all, that's a great idea. Resetting the prompt once we send the stuff over to the backend, we can clear the input so it's fresh for and clear for the next input. and we'll need to send somewhere the data. So I think there should be something like an onUpdate callback here that we can run, and onUpdate should be here. Let's have it here, props, and exactly an onUpdate, which will just take the prompt, and let's see if it will result any data. For now, I don't need that. So onUpdate, perfect, and of type props is here. So whenever we run this handle update, it will reset the prompt and it will update or call the function with the prompt named onUpdate. So what we can do here is on click, we just use the handle update function here, and also what I feel like, which I think is useful these days, you should be able to deal with just pressing enter. So on key down, I think, yep, exactly. We'll need to check if it's the enter key, then we'll just run the handle update function as well. So it doesn't matter if you click the button or if you just hit enter, it will do the same thing. Maybe a good idea would be to allow multi-line inputs. So let's exclude exactly the shift key here. So whenever you press enter, it will be sent. But if you would hold shift and press enter, you'll just create a new line. So you can create a multi-line input, and only then, once you hit enter, it will be really sent over. So we have this chat input here. Now we can go back again to our index file, and yes, we can take care of this here. So on update, we'll need to handle update. We'll need to have a function here that will take care of that. So what will handle update do? It is still taking the prompt as an input, and what we are going to do is set the chat items here, definitely, because we want to not only send in the data to the backend and get the results, but we also want to display it here, right? So we need to create those additional chat items here. So this time, as we are sending it as a user, the content is the prompt, but the author is the user. Cool. So this is nice. The other chat items are already there. And also we want to run that mutation, which will be mutate, including the prompt. And as you can see here, this is already the nice thing about tRPC, because it helps us to connect the frontend and the backend, and it takes care of almost everything, right? So if I would try to provide here a value that is not of the same type, for example here number, then TypeScript will complain about it. It knows, it is wired up that way that it knows already that the backend will require a string here. This is why we set up the dot schema before, if you remember here. So the prompt needs to be a string, and it's required because it's defined like here. So this is really improving the developer experience a lot, because you don't have to think always, is the API changed? Do I need to adapt it somehow in the front end? It immediately shows you that something is wrong if you mistype here. So we have the mutation that will run on the handle update and sending in the prompt, and this again should allow us to consume it on a success. If it worked out, it should provide a new chat item here, but this time the generated text is coming from the author AI. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Hello there. What happens if I hit enter? Does it work? Okay, let's find out later. If I press send here, nothing works. I think, yeah, because the server wasn't running. So let's run the server first. And let's reload the page. So again, let's try hello there. Enter. Cool, hello there, and we received from the AI received hello there. This works. So this is a multi-line test. I pressed shift every time and now I press just enter. And this seems to be working too. Okay, we'll have to work on formatting definitely, because this should be multiple lines and also this should be multiple lines, but we'll do that later. What happens next? As we are sharing now types between the front and backend, I would like to do some cleanup here. So first of all, we can get rid of that part. Also improve that import here because it's typed import. And yeah, in general, I think the author type is something that should be in one place. So I'll just go to here to utils and create a types TS, which will hold all the generic types, export type, and in this case author, which can be either user or the AI. Yeah, let's use this in every place where we need to. So we have it, I think in the chat content, we'll have it somewhere. Perfect. Okay, author. And where else do we have it? I think, yeah, here as well in the avatar. Let's extract this into an actual props type, and this will be author of type author, and let's import that. Cool. Now this is a bit cleaner, and we can head to the next topic. I think it's about time to get to the interesting part of the project. We'll need to use OpenAI, and for that we'll need to access its API. And this we can do by installing the OpenAI node package. Okay, inside our package.json, we should see it now, and let's jump quickly to the page. So this is how we're gonna use it, by using this configuration and accessing the OpenAI. Let's check out the documentation first, because we'll need to make some decisions. What we want to do is we want to have a chat application, so we'll go to the chat part, and as you can see, we have a bunch of parameters that we can provide. The two most important ones that we need to focus on will be the model and the messages. All the other things, I advise you to look into them and play around with those settings, because you may get different results based on them. So quite interesting to look them up. But for this project right now, I just want to focus on those two required ones. So the first one is the model. Let's check the model out. For this chat completion endpoint, we have this selection of models. You can use ChatGPT 4, 3, and so on. It really depends on how much money you want to spend, because each model has a different pricing. You should check out the pricing table on their page, but what I'll go with, which is a good model for our purpose, is this GPT 3.5 Turbo. So this is the first thing that we'll decide for. The other thing is, going back to the messages, is to check out how the format looks like. In the format, as you can see here, Ori, the model, in their example, they're using the same model. And for the messages, we have something called a role, which is either system or user or assistant. So I guess the user will be us sending in the messages, and system and assistant is something that might come from the OpenAI API. But for now, I just want to focus on system and user. Everything else is out of scope for now. So we have the role and we have the content, and basically that's it. So we can get started with implementing things. Looking at this part again, what do we need? Okay, let's get back to our router, which is here. Okay, let's start with the configuration. So configuration will be this part, new configuration, which comes from OpenAI, perfect. And this needs an API key, and we'll use as well OpenAI API key as a default setting. So this is something that will have to come from our environment settings. And then we'll start our OpenAI object, which will be running like that. And it will consume the configuration. Cool. So we have this. Now, looking at this, this is the create completion. So this will be the regular completion. This is not the chat completion. So we'll have to go a bit deeper. And what we can do here is already we can try it like that. So const completion will be not this one, but we want to have a create chat completion. And this again will require a model, as we saw before in the required parameters. And in this case, I want to use that very same model here. So yeah, this is cheap enough and has good results. And then we have the messages object, which is an array, and it requires a role, which will be the user. In this case, this should be TypeScript safe. Yep, perfect. And we'll need to have the content, which will be the prompt. Okay, I think that's it. And let's see if we can get the result now here. So the completion, okay, it looks like an access request. So it has data, choices. Okay, that's an array. And what else is there? Message. And then after message, we have content. So we don't care for the role, we just care for the image. Okay, no error handling for now. Let's just see if this works at all. Let's run the project again. And let's find out what happens if we try to submit something. Hello there, how are you? Hard to tell if it's working, so let's check the console. All right, we have an error here. tRPC failed, agent text failed with status code 401. I guess this is a permission problem because we didn't provide any API key. Okay, first of all, it's good to have some error handling, right? So let's have a try catch block here. In case that something goes wrong, we'll be able to respond here. And what we need to do here is we should throw a, not a regular error, but we need to throw a tRPC error. Because we're talking via tRPC, so it needs to be handled like that. There is a code always. The code in this case, as we don't know exactly what the problem is, I'll just go with error 500, which is an internal server error. And for the message, let's see, error message. Okay, this could be of any type. So what I will need is to, well, we'll need Axios here. npme Axios, so we can better deal with errors. And let's find out what exactly this error is. So if Axios is Axios error exactly, we would like to throw this kind of error message. Internal server, oops, I forgot to import it. Axios is there now, and the error message would be this one, I guess. Otherwise, we'll try. Okay, there's something missing here, I see. Now we're correct. So there's some issue here, unsafe memory access. Okay, I don't want to dig deeper into that because might be not typed out well. I see a lot of any here going on. And for this one, let's find out if the error is instance of error, then we could show error message. Otherwise, unknown error sounds good to me. Okay, let's see. So in case something goes wrong, we'll just respond with an error message. So again, what's the capital of Austria? Of course, we got the error now. Undefined, you can find your API key there. So we'll have to copy our API key. Yeah, we have to take care of the error itself, right? So we should deal with this error. And what we can do here is quite simply in our chat content. Or furthermore, actually in our request itself, where we do those requests. So we have here the following issue now. We have different types. So what could happen is, because there might be an error, then content obviously would be undefined. So we'll need to deal with that right now. So first of all, the chat content could be no string here. And the other thing that I would like to take care of is that we have some sort of a boolean for if it's an error or not, because this will be useful then to print it later on. So on success, we already defined, and this is good, but now we should also take care of on error, right? So basically there's another setting, which is something that you can, although we are using tRPC, this is something that you can look up in 10-stack query, because 10-stack query is powering this part of tRPC. So what we need is we want to have the error, right? And we would like to set the chat items, right? In this case, the content will be the error message as it comes from the tRPC part. If it's not defined, an error occurred. It can be like that. And the author will be the AI in this case, and it is an error, so we'll have to set it to true. And basically this should cover the part of defining the chat messages. So if I save this now and run another test here, cool, I get the error message here right now, which is nice. We could style it a bit because it doesn't look like an error message, to be honest. So let's fix that quickly. If I go back to the chat content and look where the message is, this is where we want to place it. So right now we have white text on the background that is there with the content. So the error message will be as well the content here. So what we want to do is we would like to switch the color based on the situation, right? So what we will use here is again CSLX, or actually CLSX, hard to remember sometimes. Definitely what we'll keep here is those kind of items. So this is the default situation. And what we would like to extend now is that the white text, let's go in the next line, will happen only if the chat content is not an error, right? This should be good enough. And let's try with red 500, sounds good, if the chat item has an error. And I think we can close it now. Awesome, we get a red. So we have now the red error message, and we know already what's going on. So I will go to this page, and I'll copy my API key and put it into my local .env file. So this is what we need. We need in here, you have this example, this regular env file, and what is a .env local. And here we are going to use this very specific name, OpenAI API key, and you'll just put it there. So as I'm not sharing my key, this is what you need to do. Just go there. I think you'll have to set up a credit card as well in order for this to work, and see you in a second. Okay, I hope it was easy for you to find the API key. it's in your .env local file, and we should be able to send another request. Let's open the terminal here just to be on the safe side, and let's try that again. Hello there. Okay, the request goes in. Oh, awesome. Hello, how can I assist you today? Perfect. This is the first request that we got from the OpenAI API. So let's try something like this. Where is Austria? It will tell me, okay, it's in Europe. Perfect. It got it right. What's the capital? So, as an AI language model, I do not have any specific context to your question. Well, here's the problem. We don't provide any context because each question that I'm sending in is being answered separately. So what we need to do now is we need to provide the whole chat history with every request. So that's why we have this messages object. So let's do that. In our AI router, we'll, for now, just to keep it simple, we'll just create a simple messages object, which will be, let's have a type here. A type of a message, which is a role, which can be, I think the roles are coming from ChatGPT, so it can be user, system, and I think the last one was assistant. And then we have the content, which is a string, and that should be it. So this is where we are going to keep track of our messages. Perfect. Which means that instead of just sending this one message here, we will just push those messages in, so we can later send it over to the API. Let's push it here. So what we need is the role, actually this whole object, and instead of individual messages, we'll just send the whole messages object. So we have here some inconsistency, and this is because I think I made a typo. Yes, here. System. Okay, now it works. Perfect. So we are able to send messages, so we'll just push those messages in, and well, of course we can't forget to push as well messages from the AI backend, right? So once generated text is exactly this one, so we can reuse it and only check if there was any result, then let's push it. I think in this case, I'm not sure, but I think it should be coming from the data itself, right? So we have choices 0. Would that work? We can try. Okay, it seems to be working. Worst case, we'll just say it's the system. So this is that part, and now we are just creating a whole history here. So let's try this again by asking the same question. I'm lazy. So where's Austria? Okay, Austria is in Europe. Perfect. And let's ask again the capital. The capital of Austria is Vienna. Okay, now we have context. We are sending in multiple messages, and the more messages we have, the more detailed the answers will be, because we have the context. Now, there's a problem though. If we want to start over, we need to reset the context. So, for this, we will need to create a new procedure, which will be, I think, the best name would be reset. Very good. Which is a public procedure. It will be, no, it has actually no input, I would say. So I think we can just skip that part and just go ahead straight ahead with the mutation. It's not an async function because we will have no network requests here, so we'll just set the messages to 0, and this should be it. So we have a reset mutation here. Okay, I think we can wire it up now. Let's find a good place for that, because we will need to put it into our chat input. So first of all, let's have here a function that we can call onReset. So onReset, I don't think it will require any parameters, and we will obviously need some sort of a button here. So let's put another button here, which will be just reset and onReset. How did I call it? All right. I also need to use it here. So, and there we go. We have a reset here. Maybe let's do a different color here so it's not that strong. Gray. Yeah, let's go with 700. Yep. Okay, and of course we would like to justify it so the buttons are not close together. Cool. We have that part, and I think we can now implement the part in the upper component. So const handle reset. In this case, we'll have to reset our chat items that we have here. So this is just for the visual part here, for the display, but we will have to also reset the chat items on the server. So for that matter, we'll need to have as well this reset mutation, which will be API AI reset, exactly as it's already detecting it. I think for now this should be it. Let's try to reset it here, mutate. That's basically it. And with this handle reset, we can on reset provide it to our chat input. So whenever we click reset here, it will reset the context. Let's see if it works. Whereas Austria again, which will give us an answer. Now I will reset it and ask what's the capital. Exactly as expected, because the context is gone, we reset the history on the backend, right? We just set the messages to 0. So the next request that we send in to the completion API, it will be just having this one entry, nothing more. So this is cool. Now I would like to take care of some usability issues here. Every time when we'll be sending in something here, then the input is still available, the send button is clickable. So I would like to take care of that part. So what we will need here is in our index file, we'll just have to have something like a waiting state. So while we're waiting for the response, set waiting boolean, very good. And while we are sending updates, so whenever we send an update to the backend, we will just set waiting to be true. And yeah, I think also when we get some response, we'll need to set it to false, obviously. We could do it for on success and on error separately, but there's also something called unsettled. And here we could just set waiting to false, and that's it. Furthermore, we'll need our chat input to be able to deal with that. So let's save this waiting boolean here, which is here and here to be used. And let's provide the state here. Perfect. And yeah, what we need to do now is just to disable the send button, actually both buttons, and even the text area. We're in waiting mode, so disabled is when we're waiting. Perfect. And let's do the same thing for the buttons and check how this is working now. Hello there. Okay, that was quick. Well, we'll need to ask something longer maybe. Show me a JavaScript example code. Okay, this input is disabled. Those buttons are disabled too. And we have some results here, which doesn't look ideal, as I can see right now. Well, it looks like it's Markdown, so we'll have to fix that part as well. But before we do that, I would like to make sure that the buttons look like they're really disabled. So for that matter, we are going to apply again our class helper. So, and we'll do it actually for the text area as well. So let's start here. This will be CLCX, which will have the base here, which we are fine with already. And we will have here an object that sets the opacity to 50% maybe when we're on waiting mode. And oops, I forgot to import CSX here. I have to also close this bracket, which is here. Cool. And yeah, the same thing goes for those here. So let's go here. This will stay as it is, and after that we'll have this opacity of 50 if we are waiting. Oops, that was too far. And then again we need to close that and this one too. Cool. And let's see how this works. Hello. Perfect, everything is disabled. All I would like to have here also is a small loading spinner. And for that matter, I'll have to use something that I already created once, which is a small SVG that is showing a small circle. Let me copy it here. So let's place it here for now. Okay, I think this will require some inline flex. Now it works, perfect. So there's one more property in Tailwind that we need to provide here. Not here. Where's the SVG? Exactly. Animate spin. Now we see the spinner happening here automatically. So the only thing that we need to do is now to enable it only when it's in waiting mode, which we'll do just like that. Again, setting something in, there is no spinner here. Hello there. And now we have this loading spinner here and the button is back. Awesome. Another thing that I would like to take care of is this input text area size. So if we have some longer content, I would like it to grow to a few rows. So what we can do here is we can provide to the text area, we can provide something like rows, and this could be 3, for example, then it will get bigger if you noticed, or it could be 10, then it will be larger. So I would like to make it dynamically based on the input. So what I'll need here is the following. Again, we'll have some state here. Let's start with 2. this will be rows. So it will stand here with 2 as default. And now I think the best way to deal with this for now would be with a use effect in React. And here we're going to check the following. So not the rows, but the prompt should be in the dependency array. So whenever the prompt changes, basically, this is what the array is about, this effect will be run. And as I can see, it's already providing me with a good idea. So the lines will be the prompt split by returns here, and it will determine the length, and based on length it will define the rows to be the maximum of 2, or the lines, whatever is bigger. So let's see how this works. So if I provide here some, oops, I clicked too fast. So if I provide here text, oh, it will never end. So this is not ideal. I would like to adjust it a little bit. So instead of the number of lines, so 2 is the minimum, but the number of lines will need to get cut down a bit. So let's take the minimum here of the lines and 5. Let's find out if this works. Okay, at 5 it stops, so 2 is the minimum, and we can type as much as we want. So between 2 and 5 lines, this is the size that will stay there. All right, so this should improve this experience. Now let's do something about that Markdown output here. What we'll need is Markdown renderer. So let's go with React Markdown. You can use any, but this is the one that I know. And let's see if we can fix the output. So let's start our server again. Let's find our content output, which should be in chat content. And here, instead of just rendering the content, we'll need to provide React Markdown, which we can import from here. Cool. And what's the problem here? Oh, the content might be undefined. So this shouldn't be the case actually. So let's remove this part again. And let's see if this works now. So show me a JS code example. Okay, I think we can do something about the code here. And for that matter, I think we should just make sure that, because this looks like code, yes, this is code, pre and code. So what we can do is we'll need to apply some styling. And for that, there should be a global CSS package, CSS file. And here we can define, well, maybe not code directly, but the pre part. And we apply here BG black. Let's see what happens now. Oops, mistyped. Okay, this is starting to look like something, but I would like to have here a bit more. So just to be on the safe side, the text should stay white. I would like to have regular rounding. Let's have some vertical margin here of maybe 4, and as well some internal padding. Let's start with 4 here and see what it looks like. Cool, I think this is starting to look really good. So we have now even our Markdown output. Let's see if our own text input works. This is a test. So we still need to figure out that part. I think when we add our own content, we should treat it like Markdown. So Let's have it here on update, I think, handle update basically. We should change the content here in terms of replace. And whenever we have a new line, let's make 2 new lines out of it. And let's see again, this is a test. Oh, cool, now it works. Perfect. Oh, it's trying to complete the message. All right. And finally, there's one more thing that I would like to fix, because every time when I type here something, you might have noticed the message that I typed doesn't show up, so I have to scroll there. I would like to automate that part. So what we'll need to do here is we'll need to set up a reference here at the bottom of this context and jump whenever we think it makes sense there. So what we use for this is a ref. So let's call it scroll to ref for now, which will be, it will be a use ref request here, which will be a div element that works. And now we can now set it up below the chat content. So div ref equals scrolls to ref. Perfect. And let's create here a small helper, which will be just called scroll to bottom. Yes, that's good. And it will just go into view behavior small flag. This looks nice. And yeah, whenever we invoke this function, it should go to this scroll to ref div element and scroll smoothly it into view. So let's find out. If I add it to the unsettled part, right? So whenever we have a success or error, so it makes sense to show this output. And also on update, right? When we provide a new chat item here, our new input, then let's also scroll into view. Let's save this, and well, we have an empty output, so we'll have to write some text. Show me a code example of a sort function in JS. Still waiting for the output. Cool, another one. Let's see if it can understand this. All right, and one more. Okay, it did not scroll into position. Now it did. Okay, it seems that we'll need to fix it. I think I know what the problem could be. The rendering is happening not fast enough, so what we'll need to do is give it some sort of a delay. So let's find again our scroll to helper and let's run it in a set timeout. Set timeout of, let's say, basically this is it. Let's say 100 milliseconds should be more than enough. Yep. Let's leave it like that. We don't need this check anymore. Let's keep it simple. So when we type now again something, hello, it scrolls correctly. Perfect. Perfect. Now it works. Another code example, please. Now it seems to make sense how the scrolling works. So the output should as well scroll into view. Perfect. I'm happy. I hope you too. And I think we are basically done with the project. Well, that was fun. I hope you enjoyed it as well, and I hope you could learn something interesting here as well. I will put this project on GitHub, and the link will be in the description, so you can as well try around and see what to build with it. I have already some ideas what to add on top of this project, so maybe there will be a follow-up video. Stay tuned. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. And until then, I wish you bug-free code.